Gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Latta, for 5
Well,
minutes.
thank you,
for
Mr.
your question.
Chairman, and thank you to the Commission for being with us today. Chairman Carr, Commissioner Gomez, and Commissioner Trusty, and congratulations. It's great since you've been in my office years back to follow your career. Congratulations. Chairman Carr, let me just start off. With the BEAD program, how much shovels in the ground were there in the Biden administration?
The BEAD program was President Biden's $42 billion plan to connect millions of Americans to high-speed internet. And after over 1,000 days of the Biden administration implementing it, not a single shovel's worth of dirt was turned. Now, President Trump and Secretary Lutnick and NTI Administrator Roth have come in and they've turned that program around, and we're finally going to be seeing dirt turning and Americans getting connected.
So I just want to make sure I heard that correctly. Nothing happened in the Biden administration. Let me turn to another topic I know that you and I talked about through the years, especially when we had this Spectrum Authority auction lapse. Because how far did we fall behind in this country when we didn't have that authority to sell spectrum? And the other question I'd like to ask is this, because it's always one of the things that we always worry about. How much money did we lose in that time frame from not being able to have that auction authority?
Yeah, during the Biden administration, the FCC's Spectrum Auction Authority lapsed for the very first time ever, and that enabled other countries, China and others, to leapfrog the United States. We fell several hundred megahertz behind them. But thankfully, this Congress came together, President Trump came together, and passed a working families tax cut that created a strong pipeline of 800 megahertz. And again, every time you bring spectrum online, that drives down prices for consumers, and so that's what we're doing right now.
So I understood that correctly. It was during the Biden administration that authority lapsed. Let me ask you another question, because this just came in. I know that we talked about this for years, and I worked on legislation on robocalls and trying to protect the public out there. And I know that in reading your testimony that the commission wants to move forward and make sure that we protect people out there from these robocalls that people are getting.
Well, thank you. Robocalls obviously are our number one consumer complaint, and right now we're building on the long-term bipartisan work of the agency on this. One thing we're doing is historically the FCC would focus on a very small number of robocallers that generate a lot of calls, and they would fine them hundreds of millions of dollars, but those fines would largely go uncollected. And what we're doing now is we're picking up on something we did in the last administration, which is to kick providers out of our robocall mitigation database if they're not doing enough to fight illegal robocalls. And that effectively cuts them off from the U.S. telephone network. And more generally, we're going at every single portion of the life cycle of illegal robocalls and making it harder for the bad actors to get their calls through, including we're looking particularly at foreign-originated illegal robocalls.
Well, I know the American public out there is going to appreciate your work on that, because I know I just got a call the other day from a constituent that had problems with robocalls coming into their business. Commissioner Trusty, you know where I'm from and what my area looks like. And there's areas out there, of course, that we don't have broadband. And I know I worked years back making sure that we had accurate maps before we'd spend money to make sure that dollars were spent. And in your testimony, you talk about some of the things you're really focusing on. And one of the things I think it's really important you talk about is when we talk about rural healthcare and telehealth. And I know when I'm in my rural hospitals, they can't afford to have a lot of different programs, you might say, or docs doing certain procedures, or especially on the mental health side. Could you just elaborate a little bit on the mental health side and the telehealth side?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the question. As you know, the Rural Healthcare Program ensures that rural patients have access to modern, quality healthcare, including telehealth. And the FCC has made some process improvements to improve access to this essential program by extending the application deadline, by making sure funding aligns with demands. And we've been able to roll over unused funds for this year, for 2025, to ensure that we increase access to this important service. I think as part of the USF Congressional Working Group, there's another opportunity to explore additional reforms that can be made to this program to ensure that Americans in rural communities across the country have access to the quality care that they need.
Well, thank you. If I could just return to you, Commissioner Carr, just real quickly, because we had discussions when we talked about 4G, 5G, 6G, and I'd always ask this question: are we winning the race? I mean, you know, who's our competitor out there? We got to win this race. So, are we winning this race out there when we talk about 6G?
We are. We had fallen behind, in my view, during the Biden years, and now we've hit the accelerator, and we are going to be leading the world once again, in next-generation technology.
Thank you very much. My time has expired, and I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Chair, now recognize